you needed an email domain. So we bought MicroStrategy.com. But I was too lazy. So I thought, why do I got to type MicroStrategy.com? Why don't we buy Strategy.com? So we bought, back when no one cared, we bought Strategy.com for like 50 grand. And then I thought, why don't we just start buying words? So we bought Wisdom.com, and then we bought Usher.com. And by the way, do you know who owns Hope in the world?
No.
I own Hope. Hope.com. Hope, Emma. I bought Speaker. I bought Alert. I bought Angel. I bought Alarm. I bought Voice. I mean, and here's my thinking. You know, there are all these search engines, and if you go online and you search for voice, you get like 2 billion hits on Google. Okay, if you want to launch a company named Voice and you own voice.com, you go to the top of the list of the billion. And so my thinking was, if 5 billion people go to school and they learn how to spell alert or Emma, right? Emma, E-M-M-A. If they know how to spell that, then isn't that good for a brand? And so I started thinking about branding, and I launched a business, alarm.com. We eventually spun it off. It's a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company on the NASDAQ today. We made some money. We didn't make the billions, but we made a lot of money off it, like 30, 40 million. And then we launched another company. Alarm was all about integrating your home alarm system with the internet. Yeah. And then we launched another company called Angel. And Angel was like an early version of Siri. It was an interactive voice response for mini telephone, like an angel on your shoulder. Talk to it and they respond. We eventually sold that for about 120 million. And so, what I learned was it's easier to invent things, and it's easier. You can invent something. You can even get it to scale. Can you maintain it, and can you commercialize it? Right. A lot of people find like you can buy that boat. Can you afford to maintain that boat? That's harder. And now you maintain that boat. Are you really going to enjoy that boat? Are you going to use that thing? That's harder. The analogy in business is just because you can buy it doesn't mean you can make it competitive. And even if it's competitive, doesn't mean you can make profit from it. So eventually I learned that you can't keep inventing stuff. And we streamlined. We sold those off, but I got to 2020 or 2019 where I sold voice.com. I tell you that story in a bit, but I got to 2020 and we had a portfolio of domain names that are sitting there. I appreciated digital scarcity. I thought these are unique in the universe. Only one person can own the work. By the way, you know who owns Michael.com?
Please tell me it's you.
By the way, and you know who's lazy? I thought, well, what if someone just wants to type in Mike? Bought that too. I'm waiting for Michael Jordan to call me up. Like, so, why wouldn't you own Michael.com?
How much money do you think you spent on domains over the years acquiring all of these?
$2 million, $1 million.
Okay, so let's call it low single digit 7 figures, right? So $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is.
Back in the day, back in the 90s, and I just sat on them because I figured the English language is going to be around for a while.
Okay, and before you sold voice.com, how much do you think that you had made from selling the domains?
We made like 35 million in the Alarm transaction and more than 100 million in the Angel transaction. But we had commercialized businesses with them. So we sold the domain and the business with them as part of it. And Voice was the first naked domain sale that we did that was material. And we did that one for 30 million and we just sold the domain, nothing else.
And when you go to do this, when people hear, wait a second, the same guy who did this Bitcoin thing sold a domain for $30 million. He also has a business that's worth, over $1 billion in public markets, et cetera. He's spun off multiple companies that are now worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, this guy just keeps hit after hit after hit after hit. How does something like voice.com come together? Do they approach you? Do you put it up on like a broker site and say, hey, there's a $30 million domain? How does that work?
At some point I said to my marketing people, why don't you make a list of all of our premium domains? And my definition of a premium domain is a domain where if you hit the Google search, you would get 500 million hits or a billion or 5 billion hits when you typed it in the search engine. And they're all just, ideas like wisdom and hope. Yeah. And I said, why don't you make a list of them and send them out to everybody we know and see if anybody's interested in them. And we sent out the letter and we heard back, nothing. Right? Maybe I got like 2 venture capitalists called me, but nothing ever went anywhere. And I was like, okay, forget that. Go back running my own business. And with voice, this is how this goes down. I'm sitting at my desk one day, and one of my junior 20-something business development reps walks in. He goes, hey, some broker, called us and they offered us like $150,000, for this domain, voice. And I looked at it and I'm like, look, I've been waiting for 20 stinking years. Like $150,000 isn't going to do much for me. I said, tell them no. Okay. So nothing goes on. And then they come back to, they offered us 300,000 now. I said, well, tell them no, don't bother me. So I waited. And then the next day they come back and they doubled it to 600,000. I said, nope, still not interested. Tell them it's going to have to be something north of, 10 million bucks. I'm just not interested. They go, well, they offered 1.2 and then it went to 3 and then it went to 6. And when it got to 10 or something like that, finally I've got all these other people lobbying me, salespeople sitting like jackals, like you're going to want to, they're all like, you have to sell this. And this is where selling intangible assets, like anything, artwork, it all comes down to how much are they worth to you, right? And so if you needed the $10 million, you would have taken the $10 million. But at this point, I have $500 million of cash in the bank. If I love my things, like I love them, tears, right? Maybe you can tell that I'm a little bit passionate about some of this stuff, so I would rather own it and not have the 10 million than sell it, for that. So I said, oh no. And they said, okay, well, they went up to 22 million. I said, I think when they said 10, I said, the numbers, I'll sell it for 30 million. So the only price I ever put on the table, 30 million bucks. I didn't like nothing else. I was like, after it got to 10, I'm like, I will sell it for 30 million because that's enough I thought, by the way, I didn't sell it for 30 million because I thought that's what it was worth. I think that the word voice in the English language is worth 100 million. Like I've seen people drop $100 million on an ad campaign, and you want to drop $100 million in an ad campaign with the ivoice.net type domain. It's like, so I thought it was worth more, but I thought, well, I need to market to market. I need to like create some kind of market comp for it. So we'll do 30 million. So I tell them 30 million. They said they'll give you 22. I said, no, but tell them I'll talk to them. And so around 22 million, I agreed to get on the phone. And, so like I'm talking to a broker and a lawyer. I'm like, all through this, we're like, well, who's the buyer? Who's the buyer? Not somebody, like, and if someone had said, yeah, we're a startup and we've got like $12 million in the bank and we'll give you all of our cash and this is all we've got, maybe they might have swayed me. But I just had a whale on the other end of the line that wouldn't identify themselves. And I thought, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm just going to wait until they hit my bid. If you had an acre in Central Park and someone wanted to buy it from you and the price is the price, you would wait. And then when it's like, you don't want it, I'll wait. I got another decade. I'm not going anywhere. Somebody's going to eventually want to commercialize voice. So eventually they got on the phone and I'm talking to a broker, but I hear like a click, click, and there's other people eavesdropping on the line. So I'm kind of just talking to myself. They said, well, we're authorized to go to 22 or 23 million. I said, sorry. I said, go to the Google search engine and type in voice right now. And then what you'll notice is that it's more popular than like What's Up with 1 billion users. It's a better brand than you would get, if you were to get 1 billion people online. It's a better brand than Oracle or than SAP or than $100 billion plus companies. So this is how I value it. I said, like, this is like my daughter. I'll marry her off, but only to a man that's going to treat her better than I will treat her. So if you guys really value this, then give me the 30 million. Otherwise, I'm keeping it,
And so at some point they come up to 30 million, right? You guys agree.
At that point, they agreed to 30 million.
But did you know who it was before you agreed?
No. I never knew who it was.
Really?
Who it was.
Okay, so you agree.
I sold it in the blind, basically saying no from 150 grand up to 30 million. And then finally they did it. I still didn't know who it was until after the transaction closed. And then I hear it's some crypto company, and that's the end of it for me.